Hello everybody, welcome to MJX Movies. Today I'll be acting the film Se7en by David Fincher. In this movie, two detectives, one about to retire, one recently moved to the city, investigate what's initially a bizarre homicide, but it turns out it's actually the work of a serial killer who's attempting to murder all seven of the seven deadly sins, which in Christian mythology or Christian theology are seven acts that one not commit, otherwise they risk going to hell. The murders become increasingly bizarre and grisly. And then, in a twist of equal bizarreness, the murderer turns himself in at the police station, demanding only to be taken to the final two bodies out in the middle of nowhere. In doing so, the film, and this is a big spoiler alert for this movie, the film reveals that the final two murderers, one is the wife of the recently moved to the city detective, and then the other murder is the murder of the murderer himself by the detective whose wife was murdered, thus completing the wrath portion of the seven deadly sins. That final 30 minutes that I just described is, I would say, perhaps one of the most riveting final 30 minutes in all of movie history. And the movie concludes on a somewhat dimmer, dour note, sad note, with a very grim view of the world. So, where to begin with this movie? Because it is fantastic. It is, well, okay, I'm going to start by saying this is probably the darkest mainstream success or darkest mainstream hit that has ever made a ton of money and been popular. It is one of the great crime thrillers, one of the great neo-noirs of the modern era. All the performances, acting-wise, are fantastic in it. First off, I'm gonna say all the character actors. I'm not gonna get into all of them, but every character actor in this is doing a great job. There's no character actor where you think, well, they must have only had a day on set and they didn't really try that day. With the main actors, starting with Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman is in mid-ascent. He's not quite at the peak of his powers, but he's almost there, and he gives a stellar performance. Brad Pitt plays a great dumb guy in this. Some have criticized that that's just Brad Pitt, but either way, the performance works. Gwyneth Paltrow, who's only in, I think, 3 or 4 scenes in this, is great as the wife. It's a shame that she doesn't act more nowadays. And then, sadly, Kevin Spacey as the as the murderer, as John Doe, is also amazing. I say sad because it's been revealed that Kevin Spacey might not have been a great person in his personal life, but insofar as the acting in this movie, I don't think a much better job could have been done to portray a truly gonzo serial killer. There's a movie that came out somewhat around the time of this one, I think about a month later, called Copycat. And Copycat and this movie are a great example of what happens when you have, or what the difference between the people who make movies, what the difference can be. Because Se7en is an all-time great movie. Copycat, it's okay. And that's the difference between if truly visionary people doing their work and just okay people doing their work. And I'm not trying to slam Copycat, but I'm just using it as a contrasting example. This film looks amazing. One of the things that makes a great film is that rather than a standard procedural movie that's just sort of shot flatly, all the shot composition of this is interesting and looks fantastic. If I had one criticism of this, I would say that the score is not that great. And by that I mean just say it just doesn't stand out. There's nothing you can hang your hat on, so to speak. It's still really good. It still works with the movie, but there's nothing unique to hum along with. Although I don't think you really want to hum along song with this movie. There is also some Nine Inch Nails collaboration in this, which is something that David Fincher has gone on to keep with in working further down in the future with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Also, the second decoration of this is all time. Everything in this movie looked grimy, gritty, lived in, worn down, and the choice to have this be a mostly rainy movie, there's some stories as to why that may or may not be, but it works for this movie. Even the part of this movie where Brad Pitt hurt himself, and so for the final third of the movie, he's in a cast, that worked. Like, just everything about this works. So, all that being said, if you're a sensitive soul or you have a weak stomach for grisly murders, this might not be a movie for you. But if you're a David Fincher fan and you've not yet seen this, go watch it right away. For me, between yay and in between, this is a definite yay. And I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm being a bit of a fanboy on this one, but you know, when a director's got your number, he's got your number. And David Fincher is right in the wheelhouse for me. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like and subscribe. Cheers.